course, we still have a ways to go, and there's no doubt the impacts of COVID-19 have been felt by all of us. Some have lost loved ones to the virus. Others have dealt with the financial toll.
But there's one group that has suffered quietly and alone, isolated at a time when they need their families the most. Those living with Alzheimer's are COVID's other victims. KRDO News Channel 13's Jen Moynihan spoke with the Southern Colorado man who describes the sad and eventually fatal toll that isolation took on his wife.
Always remember, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think.
On the opening pages of this labor of love, words from Christopher Robin to Winnie the Pooh.
I think that's one of the things that I felt about Tammy.
Randy Rush says he felt compelled to write about his wife Tammy's decade-long journey with Alzheimer's as a means of helping others.
She was 49 years when she was diagnosed. That was a process in itself because there is no way to diagnose. There's no test for Alzheimer's.
For the last several years, the couple learned to adapt to a new normal. In 2016, they purchased a home in a senior living community in Colorado Springs, so that a year later, when Tammy was admitted to a memory care center on the campus, Randy was still close by.
At less than a 200-yard walk to go see her.
Part of their routine even included a date night every Sunday.
Literally figured out how to get her into the car with her wheelchair. We went to almost every pizza place in town.
That is, until this past March, when Randy says everything was upended by COVID-19. Even contracting the virus himself at one point.
Was not able to be with her, touch her, see her for 5.5 months, short of a couple times out through a door.
He believes the isolation caused by the pandemic contributed to her decline and eventual death in November.
Tammy was declining quicker and faster because of the lack of contact and lack of family support and everything. She was eating less, she was sleeping more, all progressions of the disease.
It's why he ultimately made the decision to move Tammy to another senior care facility in Monument, where he was able to visit her again up until her passing.
I picked Tammy up. They brought her out to the curb where I had the car. I wished I'd had it videotaped. She smiled. She reached out to me. Of course, I'm down on my knees in front of her. And we developed a little bit of communication where she would butt my head with her forehead, and I've always said that's the way she tells me she loves me, and she was doing that.
Regional Director of the Colorado Alzheimer's Association, Rosemary Jaramillo, says what happened with Tammy is not an isolated incident.
I think we've seen more people that participate in our support groups losing their loved ones and losing them sooner than they thought.
Of the overwhelming number of deaths recorded by the CDC in 2020, data shows a staggering increase in excess deaths, or those indirectly related to effects from the pandemic. The Alzheimer's Association says there have been over 31,000 more deaths from the disease nationwide, or 16.6% above the yearly average in 2020. In Colorado, it's nearly 22%. With 559 more deaths than would be expected normally.
Just look at history in general of when people are isolated, how they deteriorate, and so add something like Alzheimer's on top of it.
It's why she says social and mental stimulation are so important.
One of the things that we do talk to our families and their caregivers and our constituents about is really using their mind.
And while Randy can't change how isolation during the pandemic affected his wife's quality of life,
you're committed to somebody on a day-to-day basis, and all of a sudden it's just completely shut off.
He hopes his new book, Loving Tammy, No Regrets, will serve as a roadmap for others in similar unimaginable circumstances.
We made the best of it, and we loved each other, and Tammy loved me. I'm convinced to the very end. I can see that. And I just think that there's a need for examples and for people to learn from other people how to do that.
Now, once published, Randy plans to use the proceeds from his book to establish a foundation in Tammy's honor to support Alzheimer's caregivers and funding to help find a cure. Reporting in studio, Jen Moynihan, KRDO News Channel 13.
Wow, great story there. Well.